Alright, so a little while back, Marcin dropped his first full-length album titled Dragon in Harmony. Now, I haven't been listening to Marcin forever. I was first introduced to him as an artist through Instagram a few years back, and here's the thing. His style is absolutely perfect for short-form entertainment. You got the percussive guitar drumming with the rich acoustic tone, complemented by the fun guitar dancing movements. It's just a recipe for virality, right? Across the internet, he's met with this split and opinionated outlook. Some see his musical approach to be nothing more than unnecessary embellishments, while others find the multi-textural features quite pleasurable. Regardless of how you view him, I highly doubt anyone would sit on the claim that Marcin isn't an absurdly talented artist in regards to his guitar fluency. A while ago, I gave my unfiltered thoughts on Marcin's musical style in a hot take video. There is no doubt that Marcin's traditional yet nuanced approach to guitar playing is unique and appealing, but there are some aspects of it that feel a bit gimmicky. And upon my initial encounter with his sound, just to summarize, I honestly just found his music to be a bit too theatrical for my personal taste. Before we talk about Dragon in Harmony, let me say this. I've listened to a decent amount of Marcin's music in a strictly musical context, as in just the songs unsupported by the visuals. Because as I'm sure most of you would agree, half of Marcin's act is the music, with the rest being the performative aspect, which nothing wrong with it. That's just the image he's built and continued to play into. So I want to kick this off by saying that I felt like Dragon in Harmony had the largest collection of Marcin's music, where the songs could be enjoyed without having to visualize the craziness that's going on behind the scenes. A lot of the tracks left room for the music to breathe without sounding like 2.5 minutes of guitar flexing. Not that I have a distaste for lavish note runs, but they do become difficult to appreciate when presented in overwhelming amounts. Now, across this 14-song album, there were certainly some pieces that felt repetitive, which when you write in the same keys and create this kind of music, it's almost inevitable to not fall into a few similar patterns. But I think Marcin did a great job distinguishing this track from his other releases. Let's start with the most obvious claim for that case. It included vocal features. And oh man, the vocal features in this project were executed so well. Among the 14 tracks, there were only 2 with lyrical artists, but they are heavy hitters. And personally, I think any more vocal additions would have degraded the value of their novelty, especially if one fell short in comparison to the rest. Because the vocal inclusions that are presented here are pretty incredible. First off, Portugal the Man, massive artist, especially in relation to Marcin. And what a crossover this was. Then we built another. The track is pretty much pop music with extra seasoning. And I say that as a compliment because here's the thing. A lot of these internet guitarists are known for showcasing extreme proficiency in their guitar playing. And although most of them express the polarizing end of their abilities with the dense musical runs and excessive cascades of notes, many of them are capable of creating some very memorable melodic lines. They certainly understand music. Most of them at least. Thing is, the internet just doesn't reward these styles of music as they simply just aren't engaging enough for the 3-second time window that creators are given on short form oriented platforms. And this 3-second window isn't a stipulation placed by the platform, but I'm saying this from the perspective of the audience themselves, who may deploy this in an active manner or subconsciously. Hearing Marcin's guitars in this context, which I had never heard, and I'd argue most of his audience hadn't, was just golden. And when he just turns the dial back on his speed, man, is he effective. And the same holds true for the song Allergies featuring Delaney Bailey. This was my first time hearing that name, but seriously, what a song. The guitars are complex enough to provide texture, but not so over the top that they pull attention away from the soft vocals. The guitars in this case, I would argue, increase the emotionality of her singing. And I really don't mean it lightly when I say that this was a perfect combination. That recipe seriously needs to be bottled. And I think this says a lot about the future of instrumental guitar music. There's a clear exponentially growing trend of instrumental artists making use of vocal works in their music. I've made an entire video going in depth on this concept specifically and what it will mean for the future of instrumental guitar music. So I highly suggest checking that out. And I'd be willing to bet the $20 that's currently in my wallet that this will become the norm. I'd be willing to bet the $20 that's currently in my wallet that this will become the norm. To bet the $20 that's currently in my wallet and purely instrumental projects will become a thing of the past. And I firmly believe this would be an overall net positive because it'll allow this type of guitar music to become more accessible for the mainstream audience, which means a larger pie not only for those of us who create similar styles of music, but for listeners who are fans of it as well. Okay, so back to Dragon and Harmony. The variants of different styles that exist throughout this album have seriously shifted how I view Marcin as an artist.
Not as a guitar player.
I already appreciate and respect his dedication to the craft, but for a while, I just wasn't the biggest advocate for his music. This project not only gives listeners a taste of his original style, which again just wasn't my cup of tea, but it pays homage to his classical background and jazz knowledge, which happen to be aspects of his sound that I really enjoy as a listener. The dynamicism of the song Smooth Operator made it easily one of my favorite tracks from the project. And the electric guitar edition in the end felt so tasteful. And how often do we hear Marcin on an electric guitar? I had never. I felt like this song specifically built and relieved tension in all the right ways. It's tough to accurately put in words, but just go give it a listen and you'll see what I mean. Clair de Lune was another track I admired as it displayed his classical abilities in an a cappella fashion with nothing else to divert the attention from the guitar playing, which isn't an approach that Marcin makes use of often. I've heard his renditions of classical songs, but I don't recall hearing any without the percussive elements, so that itself was a nice change of pace. These two tracks, along with Cough Syrup, which I really enjoyed as it pulled in some lo-fi inspirations, were several that I respected primarily for their deviation from Marcin's most well-known sound. They aren't the most popular tracks from the album, but they're certainly some of my favorites, which really goes to show that everyone is going to appreciate music for different reasons and express a unique preference for certain sounds. Speaking of most popular, apart from the vocal features, Marcin's most played tracks from this album are the ones that featured other popular guitarists, which include Classical Dragon with Tim Henson and I Don't Write About Girls, which was featuring Chica. Although these tracks were impressive, I don't have much to say about them since they weren't on my list of top tracks from the project. And I thought Marcin had several other songs on this album that were more enjoyable musically. To me at least. To wrap this up, compared to some of Marcin's older works, which to me felt directionless with nothing really to hold on to, most of the songs here felt linear in the best way possible. There was a progression of ascending intensity throughout a lot of the songs, with little breaks and sort of interludes to reset your palate. If you were to drive 90 miles an hour for the entirety of a commute, after a while it won't feel fast since your baseline would shift after you adjust to the speed. But speeding up from 60 miles an hour to 90, back down to 60 before accelerating again creates a heightened awareness of how fast you're actually going. Yeah, the drive might be a little turbulent, but it offers a contextual comparison for you to be cognizant of the buildup. Hopefully that landed. But this concept is what I feel like was present all throughout Marcin's album. Now, I obviously didn't like every song, which was likely to be the case, but I did enjoy most of them, which I certainly was not expecting. If I had to rate this album, I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. And maybe even round that up to a 9, because it compiles all of Marcin's abilities into a digestible project with a collection of songs that I felt really held their weight. If I had to sum up this album into one statement, I would say Dragon and Harmony is truly indicative of Marcin's insane range and versatility as a guitarist. I know I'm a little late to this review, but if you haven't listened to Dragon and Harmony, then I would highly suggest you checking it out. There were several songs that had a pretty high replayability factor for me, and I even dropped a few in some playlists, so yeah. If there are any projects that you guys would like for me to check out, please leave some recommendations in the comments, and I'd love to get around to them and just chat about them. Especially if they're good. I love a good project. If you guys enjoyed, a like would be absolutely amazing. A subscribe would be even better. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.